The Voxarian vermin would soon learn the price for spilling human blood. Randy slammed his armored fist against the bulkhead. He had just received orders that made his blood boil. Those Voxarian bastards had hit the colony on Zephyr 6. Reports said 50,000 civilians were dead, the survivors enslaved. Fury blazed in Randy's eyes as he addressed his squad over the comm. Listen up, Falcon Squad. The Voxarians fucked with the wrong species. Earth Command sent them one warning: cease hostilities immediately or face humanity's unrestrained wrath. They have one Earth day to comply before we bring the thunder. Sergeant Jack spat on the deck. The arrogant pricks won't listen. Emperor Xenos is too damn proud. Exactly, Randy growled. Which is why we have new orders. All human forces are to converge on the Voxarian throne world. We're going to hit them with everything we've got. Decapitate their leadership. Make them pay in blood. The squad traded looks of grim anticipation. They had all seen the footage from Zephyr 6. Smoking ruins, piles of human corpses, weeping children being dragged into Voxarian slave ships. For soldiers like Falcon Squad, that shit didn't fly. What's our mission? Corporal Vega asked, stroking her plasma rifle like a lover. We're the tip of the spear, Randy said. Command is sending the fleets to smash the Voxarian military, but you and I are going to cut the head off the snake. We're infiltrating the Imperial Palace on their homeworld. Our target is Emperor Xenos himself. The squad fell silent, recognizing the monumental risk and stakes of this op. They would be outnumbered, outgunned, dropping right into the heart of enemy territory to confront a ruthless warlord on his own turf. Randy allowed himself a predator's grin. The Voxarians were physically imposing, a race of hulks with scales like tank armor and vicious talons that could tear a man in two. Their tech was top-notch, their warriors fearless fanatics. But the Voxarians had never fought humans before. Emperor Xenos would soon discover that he had poked the wrong beast. When humanity went to war, it was all or nothing. No rules, no mercy, no hesitation. The unrestrained wrath of Earth was coming for Xenos, to make him pay for every drop of human blood spilled on Zephyr 6. The Voxarians thought themselves the apex predators of the galaxy, but they had never hunted with humans. By the time this was over, they would learn to fear mankind. We would make them regret ever thinking they could fuck with us. When do we drop? Vega asked eagerly, fingering her detonation charges. Now, Randy said with a ruthless smile. Get your gear, Falcon Squad. We have an emperor to dethrone, and a message to deliver to the Voxarian Empire. He pulled up a system map, the angry red icon of the Voxarian throne world glaring at the center. Falcon Squad gathered around, faces masks of determination. They all knew many of them might not come back from this, but they would gladly give their lives to protect humanity. Randy took a deep breath, then plunged his finger toward the hated enemy icon. Humans are coming. The drop pod sliced through the night sky, flames licking its hull as it knifed toward the unsuspecting Voxarian capital. Inside, Randy and Falcon Squad checked their weapons one last time, faces grim behind their helmets. 30 seconds, Jax called out, eyeing his scanner. Looks like their perimeter defenses are lighter than we expected. They're not expecting us, Randy said, baring his teeth, but they're about to get a rude awakening. The pod slammed into the outskirts of the city, the impact throwing the squad against their restraints. The hatch blew open and they leapt out, hitting the ground running. Moving like ghosts, they wove through the buildings, their adaptive camouflage blending them into the shadows. Automated sentry guns swiveled to track them, but Vega was faster, sending out an electromagnetic pulse that fried their circuits. Nice one, Randy said as they sprinted past the smoking wrecks. Ahead, the spires of the Imperial Palace loomed, an obsidian dagger piercing the sky. As they neared a service entrance, a squad of Voxarian honor guards emerged, their ceremonial armor glinting in the moonlight. They let out a hissing battle cry, charging forward with electrified glaives crackling. Falcon Squad met them head-on, plasma rifles flaring. The air filled with the stench of ozone and seared flesh as the elite warriors clashed. A hulking alien drove his glaive towards Randy's heart, but he pivoted at the last second, the blade sparking off his armor as he jammed his rifle into the Voxarian's eye and pulled the trigger. More guards poured out, forcing Falcon Squad to take cover. Vega hurled a fusion grenade, the blast scattering shattered bodies across the courtyard. "Move! Push forward!" Randy roared, laying down a blistering hail of plasma bolts as the commandos surged toward the palace gates. Automated turrets studding the walls opened up, stitching deadly lines of tracer fire. But Falcon Squad's armor held, the advanced polymers harmlessly absorbing the hail of slugs. Jax primed a shoulder-mounted rocket, the exhaust searing his armor as the projectile streaked out to detonate against the palace gates with a thunderous boom. "Through the breach! Go!" Randy ordered as the smoke cleared, revealing the twisted, glowing ruins of the entrance. They charged in, ready for anything. Squads of frenzied guards threw themselves at the humans with fanatical zeal, but the close confines worked against them. The towering aliens couldn't bring their strength to bear in the tight corridors, crashing into each other as Falcon Squad cut them down with precise bursts of fire. Barging through a final set of doors, Randy found himself on a cavernous throne room, a colossal figure in ornate battle-scarred armor, rising from a throne of jagged metal to glare at the invaders with seething yellow eyes. "Emperor Xenos, I presume?" Randy called out, aiming his rifle. The warlord's lipless mouth curled into a sneer as his elite guards fanned out beside him. "Humans!" Xenos spat. "Your species' arrogance truly knows no bounds." "Says the bastard who murdered thousands of innocents on Zephyr 6, Randy shot back. Xenos threw his head back, black tongue lolling between dagger-like fangs as he laughed. "And that was just the beginning. You think you can stop the Voxarian war machine by killing me? We will not rest until your pathetic species is annihilated." "Big talk!" Vega hissed, lasers glowing along her rifle's barrel. "Let's see if you fight as well as you boast." Xenos roared, drawing a wicked power glaive crackling with disruptor energy as he lunged at the humans. His guards surged forward in his wake, a tide of fang and claw. Falcon Squad opened fire, their weapons cycling faster than thought. Searing plasma bolts and armor-piercing flechettes wickered through the air, Voxarian warriors jerking and crumpling under the onslaught. But the Emperor was a blur, his glaive singing as it slashed and thrust with blinding speed. Jax cried out, a deep gouge sizzling across his chest plate as he fell back. Randy charged to meet Xenos, firing from the hip. The Emperor staggered as a plasma bolt punched into his shoulder, but then he was on Randy, glaive hammering down in a storm of furious blows. Randy parried frantically, feeling the impacts reverberate through his armor, servos whining with each block. A whistling overhead suddenly built to a deafening shriek. "Orbital strike!" Vega screamed. "The palace is coming down!" Explosions shook the throne room, pillars cracking and collapsing in billowing clouds of dust. A stray shot from a guard caught Xenos in the side, the warlord stumbling to one knee with a hiss of pain. "Emperor Xenos!" A voice crackled over the commnet. "This is Fleet Lord Zahn. Surrender now, and I will halt the bombardment. Resist, and I will bury you and the humans under the rubble of your own palace." "Treachery!" Xenos snarled, coughing up ichor. More explosions thundered down, the floor pitching beneath their feet. "Time to go," Randy said, dragging the wounded Emperor up by his collar and jamming his rifle under the warlord's chin. "Call off your guards or I splatter your brains across what's left of this room." Xenos glared with impotent fury but barked out a command. The surviving guards backed away, hissing with frustration. "Falcon Squad, fall back!" Randy ordered, yanking Xenos along as they ran for the exit. The palace was coming apart, the Voxarian fleet reducing the once proud towers to avalanches of stone. They stumbled out into the courtyard, Vega and Jax laying down covering fire at the enraged guards giving chase. "Boss, we need evac now," Randy yelled into the comlink. "We've got the HVT, but the LZ is getting real hot." "Beaming you out now," came the response. "Stand by." A corona of light suddenly surrounded them as the palace finally collapsed with a titanic roar, atomized debris pelting their armor. Then Randy felt the gut-wrenching sensation of demolecularization as the teleporter engaged. Instants later, they materialized on the bridge of the Retribution, the human flagship hanging in orbit. Armored Marines snapped to attention, weapons zeroing in on the captive alien as Admiral Havoc strode forward, cold gaze boring into the battered Voxarian ruler. "Emperor Xenos," Admiral Havoc said, voice hard as neutronium. "Your fleet is in ruins, your defenses shattered, your homeworld surrounded. You have one choice, unconditional surrender, or my ships unleash an orbital bombardment that will reduce your planet to a cinder." Xenos twitched where he sprawled on the deck, lifeblood pooling around him. He glared up at the impassive human, coughing wetly. "You cannot win. Even if I die, the war will continue. Voxarians do not yield." Havoc nodded grimly at Randy and his squad. "Get this scum to the infirmary before he bleeds out. I don't care if you have to shackle his limbs down. He does not get to die until I say so." As the Marines dragged the Emperor away, Havoc turned back to his bridge crew. "Status report on the Voxarian fleet," he barked. "They appear to be in disarray, sir," his tactical officer reported. "I'm picking up heavy fighting and explosions across the enemy formation. It looks like some elements may be turning on each other, possibly a power struggle after that orbital strike on the capital." Havoc smiled coldly. Zahn must have shown his hand. The treacherous son of a bitch. Order all ships to close on the enemy fleet. Broadcast a final warning. Any Voxarian vessel that does not stand down and surrender will be eradicated without mercy. He turned to stare out the viewport at the ravaged world below and the glittering warships maneuvering against the star field. "The fate of the Voxarian Empire hangs in the balance," he said softly, "and it's up to us to tip the scales once and for all." Randy joined him at the window, gazing out at the looming conflagration. The bold strategy had paid off, snatching the Emperor from the jaws of death. But he knew Havoc was right. This was nowhere near the end. The Voxarians would not go down easily. More blood would be spilled before this day was done. He gripped his rifle, feeling its weight heavy in his hands. A weapon he had wielded for a decade in defense of humanity, despite the toll. A burden he would gladly bear against any foe who threatened his people. How long had they been fighting this war? It felt like years since Zephyr 6, an eternity since the first shots had been fired. In truth, mere weeks had passed, and yet here they stood, on the edge of ending it all in a final, terrible blow. He thought of all he had seen in this short, brutal campaign, the horrors of battle, the faces of friends lost, the grim satisfaction of enemies slain. All of it crystallized in this moment, this nexus of fury and sorrow and dwindling hope. To be human was to strive, to rage against the dying of the light. No matter how dark the night grew, they would never stop fighting for each other, for their shared dream of a galaxy where they could live in peace. "Fleet reports ready for your order, Admiral," the tactical officer said. "All weapons locked on Voxarian capital ships." The muscles in Havoc's jaw bunched. "Send one final hail," he said quietly. "Let the magnitude of this moment be known." He drew in a breath. "To all Voxarian forces, I am Admiral Havoc of the Terran Expeditionary Armada. You have spilled the blood of innocents, enslaved our people, threatened the very survival of our species. No more. Humanity will not bow to tyrants or monsters. Emperor Xenos is our prisoner. Your fleets are crippled, your armies broken. You have one choice. Stand down immediately and sue for peace, or be annihilated to the last. There will be no third warning. I await your decision. Havoc out." The sky lit up with blinding flashes as Admiral Havoc's fleet unleashed a devastating orbital bombardment. Massive explosions rocked the Voxarian capital, shattering the last of their defenses. Towering spires crumbled, and streets buckled under the relentless assault. Deep beneath the smoldering ruins of the royal palace, self-proclaimed Emperor Zahn and his loyalists huddled in an underground bunker. The complex shook with each impact, dust raining down from the ceiling. Randy led Falcon Squad through the devastated city, linking up with human ground forces converging on Zahn's position. They fought street by street, building by building. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as pockets of Voxarian diehards made desperate last stands. "Push forward!" Randy shouted, ducking behind a chunk of debris as return fire peppered their position. "We can't let Xeon escape!" They battled their way to the entrance of the underground complex. Blast doors groaned as Vega overrode the security systems. The squad plunged into the dimly lit corridors, weapons at the ready. Alarms blared as they descended deeper. Elite Voxarian guards rushed to intercept them, filling the narrow passageways with a hail of deadly energy bolts. Randy and his team fought viciously, determined to reach Zahn's command center and end this war once and for all. In the heart of the bunker, Zahn paced before his inner circle. "We will never surrender to these human vermin," he snarled. "Even if they take this world, our reserve fleets will continue the fight until every last one of them is exterminated." His advisors exchanged uneasy glances as distant explosions echoed through the complex. Zahn's eyes gleamed with fanatical persistence. He strode to a control panel and began entering a complex series of codes. "What are you doing, my Emperor?" one of his officers asked. "Ensuring our legacy," Zahn replied. "If we cannot win, we will take these humans with us in atomic fire." Warning klaxons blared as the nuclear failsafes activated. A computerized voice announced the start of the detonation countdown. Falcon Squad fought their way through the final set of blast doors, bursting into Zahn's command center. A vicious firefight erupted as the Emperor's guards made their suicidal last stand. 10 minutes to detonation, the computer intoned. "Vega, shut it down," Randy ordered, laying down suppressing fire. She sprinted to a nearby console, fingers flying across the alien interface. "It's encrypted. I need more time." 5 minutes to detonation. Randy cursed, ejecting a spent power cell from his rifle. "We're cutting it too close." Vega worked furiously, sweat beading on her brow as she raced to crack the launch codes. The rest of the squad fought desperately to keep the Voxarian guards at bay. 2 minutes to detonation. "Got it!" Vega cried triumphantly. With a final keystroke, she terminated the countdown mere seconds before the warheads launched. Randy and Jack stormed into Zahn's inner sanctum. The self-proclaimed Emperor snarled and charged, swinging a crackling energy blade. Randy parried with his rifle. The two locked in savage hand-to-hand combat. Zahn fought with the fury of a cornered animal, but Randy's enhanced strength and reflexes gave him the edge. With a final brutal strike, he disarmed the Voxarian leader and slammed him to the ground. "It's over," Randy growled, pressing his rifle against Zahn's head. "Call off your forces, now." With their emperor subdued and their capital in ruins, the remaining Voxarian holdouts began surrendering en masse. Randy contacted Admiral Havoc, his voice thick with exhaustion but tinged with pride. "Sir, we've got Zahn. The Voxarian Empire is finished." Hours later, Admiral Havoc stood before an assembly of human and Voxarian commanders. The disgraced Zahn knelt nearby, bound in energy shackles. Havoc's voice rang out, firm and unyielding. "This war is over. These are our terms. Complete demilitarization of all Voxarian forces. Human supervision to ensure you never again threaten galactic peace. Refusal means annihilation. The choice is yours." A tense silence fell over the gathering. The fate of two species hung in the balance. The cavernous war room of the Retribution hummed with tension as Admiral Havoc strode to the center, his boots echoing on the polished deck. Surrounding him, a ring of human and Voxarian officers shifted uneasily, weapons at the ready. With a nod from Havoc, two Marines wheeled forward a stasis pod. Inside, the battered form of Emperor Xenos floated in a nutrient bath, his eyes closed but chest rising faintly. "Xenos," Havoc's voice cut through the silence. "Your empire has fallen. Your successor Zahn is in chains. It's over." The Emperor's eyes snapped open, burning with hatred. His voice rasped through an external speaker. "Is it, human? You think you've won?" Havoc leaned in close, his face inches from the transparent barrier. These are our terms. Complete disarmament of all Voxarian forces. Human oversight to ensure you never threaten galactic peace again. Refuse, and we wipe your species from existence. A wet, gurgling sound emanated from the pod. It took a moment for the observers to realize Xenos was laughing. Fool, the Emperor spat. You have no concept of true power. Even now, our greatest weapon stands ready to obliterate your pathetic homeworld. Havoc's eyes narrowed. You're delusional, Xenos. We've crushed your fleets, razed your fortress worlds. There's nothing left. A skeletal hand pressed against the inside of the pod. With trembling fingers, Xenos tapped out a complex sequence on a hidden control panel. Alarms blared across the Retribution's bridge. The massive view screen flickered to life, showing a patch of seemingly empty space near Earth. As they watched, the void shimmered and warped. A colossal shape materialized from nothingness. Kilometers long, its surface bristled with massive drills and cutting lasers. At its core, a titanic warhead pulsed with barely contained energy. Behold, Xenos wheezed, the Oblivion Borer. The holographic display zoomed in, revealing intricate schematics. The machine's purpose became horrifyingly clear. A planet killer designed to burrow into Earth's core and detonate. A pre-recorded message from Xenos played, his voice strong and filled with malice. If you are seeing this, humans, it means my empire has fallen. But in its death throes, it will drag your world into oblivion. You have mere hours before the borer reaches critical depth. Stop it if you can. Havoc spun to his tactical officer. How the hell did we miss that thing? Unknown, sir, the officer replied, fingers flying across his console. Some kind of advanced cloaking technology. We're reading a massive energy buildup. That warhead could crack the planet in half. Havoc's eyes hardened. He keyed his comm. Randy Thompson, report to the bridge immediately. Prep Falcon Squad for emergency deployment. Minutes later, Randy burst onto the bridge, his armor still scorched from the ground assault. Havoc quickly briefed him on the situation. Sir, Randy said, his voice grim, my team is ready, but we're talking about assaulting a fortress the size of a small moon. We'll need every ship we've got. Havoc nodded. You'll have them. This is it, Randy. If we fail, Earth burns. Get it done. Randy saluted and sprinted for the hangar bay. Alarms wailed as fighters and dropships scrambled for launch. The Retribution's engines roared to life, leading the battered human armada on a desperate charge. As they neared the borer, its true scale became apparent. The massive drill bit alone dwarfed their largest capital ships. Lightning arced across its hull as weapon systems came online. All ships, commence attack, Havoc ordered. Concentrate fire on propulsion and guidance systems. Boarding teams, stand by for insertion. A storm of missiles and energy beams lashed out at the borer. Most splashed harmlessly off its titanium hull, but a few found weak points, explosions blossoming across its surface. Randy gripped the arms of his seat as their dropship dodged through the barrage. Falcon Squad, gear check. We hit hard and fast. Find that warhead and shut it down. The dropship shuddered as a near miss clipped its wing. Warning klaxons blared as the pilot fought for control. 30 seconds, the pilot shouted. Randy rose, mag boots engaging as he moved to the rear hatch. His team fell in behind him, weapons primed. Remember your training, he said. We're all that stands between Earth and annihilation. Failure is not an option. The hatch slammed open. Randy leapt into the void, his squad right behind him. They fired grappling lines latching onto the borer's pitted hull. As they reeled themselves in, the massive machine's defenses opened up. Searing beams of energy crisscrossed space around them. Nearby, a human fighter exploded in a silent fireball. Randy watched helplessly as more ships fell, brave pilots buying them precious seconds with their lives. His boots magnetized to the hull with a clang. Move! He shouted. Find an access point! They sprinted across the borer's surface, dodging debris and weapons fire. Vega's scanner pinged. Got something. Maintenance hatch, 200 meters. They reached the hatch, fingers scrabbling for purchase on the alien metal. Jax planted breaching charges as the others provided covering fire against swarming defense drones. The hatch blew inward with a silent flash. Randy plunged into the dark maw of the Oblivion Borer, his team close behind. They had minutes left to save their world.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.